Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode A of the You Love It A podcast with me, Paul Ensling, and today, my good friend, Alessandro Sancho.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I'll give a little bit of an intro. Me and you met 2 years ago already, 3 years ago, maybe?
Did we meet in Sydney?
Of course,
for sure, right?
Sydney, bro.
Did we?
Yeah, we play basketball all the time in Sydney.
Yeah,
Not all the time.
But were we like friends? Because you weren't even friends with Greg then.
No, we weren't close. No, for sure not close. But we hung out a couple times, I guess.
Yeah,
It's just in like group settings.
Yeah, in the German.
I guess you don't remember.
It's quite a blur. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
No, but since putting out the first episode in which I said that I left Hillsong and you have left Hillsong too, a lot of people have been asking, what happened? Why? All the drama, all the scandals going on there, the podcast that was released about it. Not my podcast, like someone else's podcast. And so I figured it'd be cool to have you on today because we kind of had the same experience. Not the same, obviously, but similar experiences. We were at Hillsong College at the same time. Although you came a bit earlier than I did.
Yeah, I think I was maybe a year ahead of you or a semester ahead of you. Were
I
you in
think one
Julie's
semester,
intake?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, then.
No, was I in Julie's? I came January 2020.
Okay, so I think I was a year ahead of you. Yeah, you came in 2020, dude?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so I was a year ahead of you. Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, you came in January 2019.
Well, that, but also just the time you came.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The time I came was definitely a huge factor in it. And I think everything we're saying today is not supposed to be any hate, slander, or, it's just raging at Hillsong or church or God or anything. That's not at all what it's supposed to be. And it's just, I guess, two friends coming together, sharing their experience with people who might be interested in it. And I think one story, I don't know if I shared the story with you, which I kind of want to use to frame this whole thing is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. From your time in Düsseldorf. Kind of taking away the story now a little bit already. So it was like maybe a month or 2 months ago now. No, probably a bit longer, like 2 months, 2.5 months maybe. I decided to leave Hillsong around Easter time of this year. So that was like 3.5 months ago maybe. And I just went to a cafe down the street here like 2.5 months ago. I mean, I've gone there ever since too, but like on this random day I went there, decided to work a little bit from there. And it was funny because I went inside, ordered my coffee, and then the barista was telling me, no worries, wait outside, I'll bring it to you. I was like, oh, cool, thanks.
Right, yeah.
It was just a simple, like, Americano black coffee, like we're drinking right now. And I know it doesn't take like 20 minutes to make that, but I was sitting outside.
It took 20 minutes to make
I was sitting outside and I was wondering, when is this coffee coming? It was like 10 minutes past, 15 minutes past. I was like, yo, is this coffee so good? I was like already trying to look inside, but I wasn't trying to be that dude, who's like on their ass.
And they're like, it's coming.
She probably got other things to worry about. Anyway, so I sit out there and I'm starting to wonder what's going on. Then two girls who were in the cafe come outside and they start talking amongst themselves. They're like, she seemed a bit confused, like talking about the barista. Like, she seemed a bit off today. Like, what was going on with her? And I was like, yeah. I just jumped into that conversation. I was like, yeah, I'm still waiting on my coffee. It's been like 15 minutes.
Yeah, she's whack.
She's whack.
Bro, she does not know what she's doing.
Who gave her that job? No. So me and the two girls started chatting a bit. They're like, yeah, it's so strange. I don't know. She seems a bit like it might not be her day or whatnot. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, I guess, I'll go look inside, see what's going on.
Right.
And then they were about to leave, but one of the girls turned back around. She's like, wait, hold up a second. Don't I know you? I was like, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe you do. Like, help me out here. And then she's like, no, you're Paul, right? I was like, yeah. I was like, who are you? She's like, oh no, didn't you used to go to Hillsong Düsseldorf?
Yeah. Oh,
I was
God.
like, oh shit, wow. This is like 4 years ago, I think, or 5 years ago, 2018 when I last went there, maybe 2019, so 4 years ago. But what it turned out was that she used to be on the welcome team and the young adults team at Hillsong Düsseldorf, and that's how you know her as well.
No.
You know, sorry.
That's so funny, but no.
Well, anyways, let me finish the story first. I was like, yo, wait, that's crazy. Did a Hillsong, this, and that. I was like, what are you doing in Berlin? You just visiting? And she's like, no, me and my husband moved here a couple of years ago. I was like, oh, wow. So, like, I haven't seen you at Hillsong Berlin. She's like, no, we left Hillsong like 2 years ago. We were completely burned out. Maybe I should blur out their names. I don't know if they want this to be out there like this. But anyways,
You just edit that out, I guess.
yeah, the couple I'm talking about was completely had like a very rough time towards the end of their time at Hillsong as well. And so decided to leave and has ever since been like healing and going to another church. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome that you guys are still going to church. Because I'm sure you can agree that there are so many people from church, from college who went through similar experiences, but just completely
just walked out
of church and are not looking back to come back.
Even
as well.
faith in general.
Yeah, even faith in general, you know, and
over it.
which is such a sad thing to see or have experienced to you. So I was like, wow, that's awesome that you guys are, you know, although you've been burned out and hurt by church, that you've decided to still go to church. And then this is the whole thing that I'm coming to, where I just felt like, you know, this was like a message from God in a way, where I was like, oh, this is like a God moment, where she's like, in that moment, it felt so real too. She was like, hey man, like, I know church and people are never going to be perfect and they're going to hurt you, but God is the same and he remains faithful, and he's not the one hurting you. He's hurting with you, and that his people are hurting you, you know, and he's still good. And just to say all this to kind of give this conversation a frame, that's still what I believe. Yeah. And that's what I want this conversation to be centered around, that although we might have had sucky experiences here and there, that God is still good and that he's still building his church, and that we are aware that his church is never going to be perfect, and that it's made out of a whole bunch of flawed and imperfect people coming together, and therefore it's just kind of like a thing that comes with it.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
Yeah. Anyways, I went on all this whole band.
Yeah. No, it's good.
So how do you know her then?
Through
your wife?
Shout out to my beautiful wife, Hannah. Yeah, through Hannah. She went to Düsseldorf as well, so she knows from there. And then when we moved here, she introduced me.
Just dropped her names again.
Oh.
So good.
Should I redo that?
No.
Okay. Yeah, we had met them through I had met them through Hannah. So then I met them 2 months ago, I guess, 3 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a super cool couple.
Yeah, they're sick.
Yeah, I like them. And yeah, me and her and her husband went out for coffee one time after and had like a good conversation about like everything that happened. And I think that's also kind of what we can talk about today. I had a couple of people message me questions after the first podcast that came out, in which Greg and I talked about our experience at Hillsong College, and people start wondering, Paul, why don't you go there anymore? And I think the first and clearest question, and I want both of us to go through them because I'm also interested in hearing what you have to say. Right. So the first question is just like, why did you leave Hillsong? Because you left Hillsong as well.
Yeah, I guess so I left Hillsong in Düsseldorf. So Hillsong Düsseldorf. So it wasn't even, I think Hannah and I just made a decision to stop going. It wasn't necessarily like a farewell, goodbye, because we just weren't getting fed spiritually. I think the motivation wasn't there anymore to keep going. I think if you find a healthy church, it's, I think when you're towards the end of the service, it's like, all right, I'm not in a rush to leave. I think that you're in a healthy standpoint. Yeah. We would arrive and be like, can't wait to go home. And I think that's when we realized this is not for us anymore. The sermons weren't great. the community there was dying. At least for us, I mean, it could be great now, but for us, it just wasn't what we expected, because we had come from, Hillsong Sydney, which is the
mothership,
of the whole thing, and we were expecting a lot more. So then, we just realized spiritually that we were kind of just dying, and the season we were in as well was a difficult one. So it was just hard to try and stay motivated and, keep dedicating ourselves to a Sunday service every Sunday. I mean, our faith was still there. It's just kind of on E. We're out of gas a little bit, I think. Yeah, for sure.
I like what you said about, being at a church service and then just kind of waiting for it to be over, or like constantly checking your phone, but like, when is this done?
Yeah.
Because the spiritually fed point is definitely real for me as well. Which I already started experiencing while being at college, though, I think.
Okay. Sure.
While, I mean, those lectures and those classes and stuff were good, like, I did not feel like I was going to a church.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I don't know what your church background is, or like what kind of churches you grew up in or went to before college, but to me, it were always like kind of smaller communities.
Okay. Sure.
And then coming to Hillsong was crazy, but like, obviously I chose to go there and I wanted to be there as well. Right. And I wanted to learn from them and I wanted to experience all those things. But I must admit, like, after coming back in 2022, and then moving to Berlin and doing Hillsong Berlin for almost, I mean, that's also the thing. I wasn't doing Hillsong Berlin like I was involved or wasn't volunteering. I went sporadically. Some weeks I went more often or more consistently. Other weeks I didn't come as much, until I then finally like pulled the plug.
Put it to bed.
What do you say?
Put it to bed.
No, because it's interesting, because this podcast came out, right?
Right.
This Toxic Church podcast by
in Germany.
Yeah, in Germany, okay. Right?
Yeah.
And the way they described it, like, really hit home for me. And I know it's not all things that are in there are factually correct, and you always have to question what kind of agenda they're following, or what kind of narrative they want to portray, and if it's genuine or not. But what I did really like about just the title Toxic Church really hit home for me, because I knew for so long that this church wasn't the best for me, or spiritually wasn't the best for me. But then whenever I was there on Sundays, in worship, and I would see all these people, like a diverse group of people, young people worship God, I was always like, wow, this is great. This is what heaven is going to look like. And I'm sure in some way or another it might. But at the same time, I was always so conflicted about, should I fully invest in here? But then there were things going on where I was like, no, I can't. Like, I just can't. But then other points I really liked about it. So this like toxicness, or is that a word?
Toxicity.
Toxicity.
My English is so bad since moving here. Toxicity.
Yeah, it was definitely real for me. Yeah. And then decided to leave in, again, around Easter this time, because again, I haven't felt fed. I haven't felt like I was discipled by anyone.
Right.
And I think at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own spiritual health, and you can't, at the end of the, you got to stand in front of God and have to be accountable for your own.
Yeah.
But in a sense, the community you're in will also help you and equip you and guide you and walk you through different things, right?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I was feeling like that my first 2 years. So I grew up in a mega church as well in Florida. It's the biggest church in Florida. I think it's a family church with Hillsong. It's called Christ Fellowship. So I went there, and then around maybe when I was starting high school, I decided to stop going to the church because I did feel hurt by it. Yeah, some things happened with the youth group, and my brother was working there full time, and something just happened.
Oh wow, he was already working in ministry back then.
Yeah, he was I can't remember. He was the youth pastor, I think, like 18 or something.
Wow.
I could be wrong, but
So
it was quite young. Yeah. So then I was going, and I was dedicating my youth age to that. And then, yeah, the way they were kind of treating him, and, they weren't really discipling me. I don't think either. I kind of just, stopped going. So then the reason why I went to college is because my brother was going there, and I had finished high school, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. I was like, I kind of want to rededicate my life to this whole Jesus thing. Not that I've walked away fully, but I was just dedicated my life more to, I was playing football at the time, or soccer, whatever.
Yeah.
So then he had came home to visit one time, and he was just like, so what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. I just kind of want to learn more about God and get back into that. And then he kind of encouraged me to go to Sydney.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sick. I'll go to Sydney. And
why?
Yeah, I was like, right now.
Why not?
I was like, yeah, I was like, I have nothing going for me here. So I was like, I'll just go over there.
Yeah.
And then, I did rededicate my life to Christ there. And then, so I was saying that, kind of, I don't think I was hurt this time around. I've learned, through my first church, that every church has its thing because it's run by people, right? So it's always going to have its thing. So that was the first time where I was hurt, when I was younger. And now, I was just kind of maybe I expected at some point, and maybe that's something I have to learn how to deal with, because, I feel like every time I join a church now, or I find a new church, it's going to have like that, honeymoon phase, that church high where it's super the best, and, you go all in, and then at some point something's going to happen, and you kind of expect the worst to come. And yeah, I don't know. I kind of just rambled on there for a second, but
no, that's cool. It's good hearing your thoughts and how and what your process was of going to college in the first place as well.
Yeah, so that was my whole thought process of going to college. It was like, oh, I'm going to rededicate my life.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then the whole ministry thing starts, which is something I feel like, was kind of full on, and maybe I should have, looking back, maybe I should have babysat myself into it, because it's like, you go to college, you think you're going to, I thought it was just a place to learn, and then I didn't realize that, you are serving 100%. So that was something I hadn't served since I was like 13, 14 for community service hours for school at a church. I used to do like kids when I was like 13 with my mom, and to be serving, that was cool, but then I did eventually kind of get burnt out, I think.
Okay.
And especially when the pandemic came, I was done. I was like, I don't. I was like,
what were you doing for your practicum your first year?
So I was studying film and TV, so it was cool. So it was a bit different. I was just kind of cleaning the TV studio once a week. Yeah. But even then, I mean, maybe I won't snitch on myself, but it might take away my credits. I don't know. Not that they matter anyway. But yeah, so I was just kind of cleaning, and I did have a different experience, I think, from, let's say, yourself and Greg, because you guys did do the pastoral kind of stream. But
I didn't even know you did film and TV.
Yeah, I did it my first 2 years, so that was cool.
And then you switched to pastoral?
Well, then I did my third year with Christian Ansi.
Oh, you did all 3 years?
Yeah.
Oh, so your first year you did film and TV, second film and TV as well?
Yeah.
Oh, and then third year Christian Ansi. Okay.
Christian Ansi, yeah. And I was at Macquarie.
Right. I do remember.
Yeah, so that was a good experience. Shout out Christian Ansi.
Is he still there?
I don't think so. I don't know. But I hope he's doing well. I miss him.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I do remember those film and TV people were quite burned out at a couple times because there was just so many assessments for you guys.
There's a bunch of assessments.
So many projects.
Especially during the pandemic. That was hell. Because it's like you have to film within these restrictions. You have to get help within these restrictions. That was just so crazy. That was insane. The whole pandemic doing college.
The whole pandemic screwed up a lot of the college experience for sure.
Oh, 100%. I only say I did 1.5 years.
Bro, I say I did like 1 semester.
Yeah.
Which is
kind of lame. We didn't get the full experience, the whole 3 years.
Yeah. It is kind of lame, and like, can't blame Hillsong for the pandemic. But to explain to people listening, so there are a couple different streams at college that you can take. You did the film and TV. I did the pastoral leadership, which is like the name says, more like the pastoral theological courses that you take.
Yeah.
Although everyone has these basic biblical, basic theology classes.
Yeah.
Then there was a production team.
Yeah, production stream. There was worship.
Dance. Oh, worship.
Songwriting,
and music. Yeah. So there are a couple different streams that people could choose from, and that obviously would lead to a lot of different people with different interests and different ideas coming together, which is also a very cool thing for like collaboration. And I remember when I was running still like my online ministry on TikTok back in the days, right? And then the pandemic hit and we did these live Instagram services. I don't know who's listening who might still remember this, but
I had no idea this was a thing.
No?
Well, I knew you were like a Christian influencer or whatever, but then
used to be, yeah.
I didn't know you were doing it. I didn't know you were still doing it in Sydney. I thought you I thought you had left it in.
No, for the first couple of months I was doing it full on, and I was doing it as hard as ever. Like that was crazy. And then especially during COVID, I was like, oh, let me use this time,
right, for sure,
just create content. And what we did every Sunday was doing a online live church type of thing. It wasn't a church, I wouldn't call it that, but like a 30-minute service.
Okay.
And all this to say, because there were these different streams with different people, I had one guy who was in the film and production stream. He helped me with the whole live streaming setup, right? So
sick.
He did the whole sound. We streamed it on YouTube and stuff. I was like,
no way. Did you do all that?
Yeah. It's like, how do you even do that? Whoa. To this day, I'm like, wow, that's like, he set that whole thing up for me. Shout out Luis. He's the go. Like, and he does crazy things now. He has his own media production in Brazil and stuff. Like,
okay, so
Luis Vetulo, I don't know if you know him.
Luis, if I see a picture, I probably remember.
Yeah, me and him were housemates, or roommates actually. We lived in Barina in this tiny ass room, bro. Dude, insane.
I can still smell those crusty, brown, moldy carpets. Dude, it was so crap.
Well, anyways, so I had him on the team, and then I had two guys who were in the worship team. One of them played like the cajon, the other one the guitar. They were both singing. And then I was doing like a 15-20 minute sermon. They played another song.
Yeah,
it was insane.
That's sick. Man, you guys are on fire.
Yeah, we did like a couple, I don't want to say episodes, where we did a couple like streams, and people loved it. They were like, wow, you know, all these people are so talented, this and that. That was really cool. And like, that environment there was definitely set up for you to flourish in a lot of ways. Like you're very much protected in this bubble, in this Christian
it is definitely a
bubble where you can just grow in your faith in a lot of ways. But then if you're like set out in the real world, so to say, or outside of that bubble, I'm sometimes questioning, okay, how much was I really prepared for this?
Yeah.
Do you feel the same?
I definitely do feel the same. Yeah. I mean, I think in the back of my mind, I've always been kind of, don't know the English word anymore because German, but.
What's the German word?
I also don't know. And I definitely don't know in Spanish, so I don't know. Yeah, I was always kind of just maybe more realistic in the back of my mind. Like, all right, this is definitely, like you said, a bubble. And I've tried as much as possible to keep in touch with the real world. I have friends who were, you know, some of my friends outside of college were coworkers, and they were definitely nowhere near faith. They didn't even know what Hillsong was, or if they did, they thought it was weird.
At Raging Waters.
Platypus. I never worked at Raging Waters.
Oh.
You don't know my path, bro.
I just guessed that you worked at Raging Waters because everyone did.
And I only worked at Platypus Shoes. While I was there.
Like the retailer.
Yeah.
Like a Snipes or something.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like a Snipes.
Okay.
And yeah, I always tried to make sure that I didn't lose that, because like I said, I had taken a break from church from being 14, high school to 18, and then I rededicated. So I feel like going to a public school in the U.S., especially high school, you see a lot of things. And I think I talked about it with my mom. I was always like, I'm very grateful that I did go to a public high school, and I saw, things that maybe a Christian person you wouldn't want seeing, but I think at some point you kind of have to.
What did you see?
I mean, people
getting shot?
I mean, nah, but there's like fights, and then there's, there's, the violence outside of school that does happen. In the area where I grew up, there was a lot of that. Different cultures, right? Like most of my school, dude, like, growing up in the United States, from South Florida originally, my high school, there was probably a handful of, like white Americans. The rest of them, they're all from Honduras, Mexico, Jamaica, Haiti, Guatemala. A lot of them don't even speak English. Like, it's all first generation immigrants in the United States going to my school. So you see stuff like that, open your eyes, appreciate different cultures. You see, people with different sexualities walking around. You see that in the hallways, people doing things in the hallways. It's kind of like, all right. But, you do, for me, I do appreciate it because it made me, not super naive to what the real world is. Especially now living here in Berlin, I'll see something and be like, all right, that's just what that person, that's who they think they are. And, not neither to say it's wrong or right, but that's just who they are. And, God loves them for who they are at the end of the day, right? So why not do my best, do the same?
For sure, definitely. No, that's a good point for sure.
Yeah. I tend to just go on tangents. I realize.
No, it's good.
I have like no end point. I always forget what I said or like the question is.
I think one question that's because I'm just looking at them right now is I like this question actually. Have you experienced similar things to the allegations on the Toxic Church podcast or the Hillsong Exposed series, or do you know someone who did?
I haven't seen or heard any of those two things. I know what they are, but I chose to not watch or see it because at the end of the day, like, churches are all going to be the same at some point, I think. At the end of the day, God's on the throne. That's who you go for. Like our friend said, sees that you're hurting, this and that. And, God brought me to that place, and it's the place where I met my now wife. It's the place where I really became brothers.
Worked out for you.
Yeah, it worked out for me. It's the place where I really became brothers with my brother, right? Like, we're 6 years apart. So when he left, he was, I don't know, between 18 and 20. Or when he moved out, he was 18 and I was 12.
Yeah.
So it's like, and with that age gap, you don't bond.
Yeah.
So living in Sydney in those 3 years, I think we really made our relationship a thing. So that I'm always grateful. And, in a way, God gave me that, not Hillsong Church, but it was within the Hillsong Church bubble that all that was to happen. So that I'm very grateful. Sometimes all good things have to come to an end, like a lot of things in life. So before we go on this, I just want to make that clear that I don't hate it, or I think you said that in the beginning, but for me, I just wanted to say that. Now, I did experience maybe a couple of things. I just remember now, they try to say this was Aussie culture, how Australians are, yada, yada, yada. But first of all, I was born in the United States of America. My dad is from
greatest country in the world.
Didn't say that. But
That's how,
is that what it sounds like?
I was born in the United States of America.
Sorry, I was born in the U.S.
Say the US.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to sound professional. Okay, sorry. So I was born in the U.S. I was from Florida. Yeah, right. My dad is from Costa Rica. My mom's from Guatemala. So I am Latino by blood. That does not mean I'm a Mexican. Right. So
did you get called Mexican all the time?
Dude, all the time. And
really?
From some people within the staff. Like, even they'd be joking like, there's always a Mexican in here. And I'm like, I'm not Mexican, dude. Like, dude, like, I'm not even.
No, that's bad, but you don't even look Mexican.
Sure, but
Well,
not that it's bad.
Like,
also, I don't know. You have to be careful these days. Not that it's bad to be Mexican. I have a lot of Mexican friends. Shout out Rodrigo. Shout out Elsa.
Shanti and Luis. Do you know them?
Nah.
Anyways.
But shout out my Mexicans. But I'm not. That's just not who I am.
So that's not who I am, guys.
So that's one thing I remember being kind of annoyed about. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I didn't.
There's always some Mexican.
they would say that. They'd always be like, there's always a Mexican somewhere. And I'm like, dude, that's kind of insane to say. But yeah, other than that, I think my experience there was all pretty well. I mean, of course you hear stories, right? Like I did know people, stuff that even got covered on the news in Sydney. I don't know if you were there, but some like sexual harassment stuff I went down.
Yeah.
And I knew the person. Well, I didn't know them, but I knew we had talked before and stuff before it all went down. Again, I don't really want to share anyone else's story.
No, of course not. And like at the end of the day, like people have to make up their own minds and listen to, those allegations and stuff themselves.
Yeah.
But I think what people are interested in is like they hear all these things and they want to know like to what extent is it true, to what extent can I trust it, to what extent is it just, the news wanting to hate on the church, which to be fair, that might also be a part of it,
Right.
But there are definitely some points I did listen to the whole podcast of the Toxic Church, the German one. I did not watch the new DocuSeries, although I watched the one that came out the year before. I mean, there's
always something about it.
I feel like there's
well.
a DocuSeries about Hillsong coming out every other month,
which is also a bit.
It's hard to keep up with it at this point.
Saturated, kind of. So, like, find another story at some point.
Media. Even us talking about it now, we said like before recording this will be like the one and only time we talk about this.
For sure, I'm over it.
We'll put it underneath the carpet and it's gone. Although I did message back and forth with the Kira Funk lady who produced and researched the whole Toxic Church podcast. She was running all the interviews and stuff for it.
Okay, sure.
And she was keen to come on because I told her that I went to college before. I was messaging back and forth with her to find a date before my other account got hacked. So
okay, yeah.
Who knows if I'll ever be able to get back in touch with her. Anyways, all that to say, I did listen to that podcast, and as I said earlier, it did kind of help me to see patterns in the way how Hillsong does things, to realize, okay, this is like a systematic thing that they run and that happens at not just the campuses I went to, but on a global scale in a sense. And I think one thing for sure that I also experienced like within the first couple of weeks that I was there is how volunteers are treated sometimes, and how it's just taken for granted. But in the first place, it's expected for you to always show up, to always serve, to always have a smile on your face, and no matter what, and especially at college students, to show up for your practicum no matter what, and
living the dream,
serve, and I can't believe I get to do this,
dude, that
and
so
that's
cringe.
To those people who don't know what we were referring to, like at conferences, and they would run these huge conferences or like church services and stuff, the leaders would say, you always have to tell yourself that I can't believe that I get to do this. I don't have to be here and clean the floors and toilets and do all the shitty work. You have to tell yourself, wow, I am able to, like, I get to do this. Like, it's a privilege to be doing these things. And to a degree, I get where they're coming from. And
of course.
But at one point, it just becomes indoctrination or like manipulation and spiritual abuse as well. So I want to share one story, which I think kind of demonstrates the whole thing really well. It was, I think, April or March 2020. Color Conference was happening. Color Conference is this huge sisterhood women conference that Hillsong used to run every year. I don't know if they still do. And they would do it at two campuses. The first one being the ICC, the International Convention Center in downtown Sydney. Beautiful location.
Super sick.
I think would be packed out at like 8,000 to 10,000 people. And it was packed. It was full. Just women. Yeah.
Single guy's paradise.
Single guy's paradise. I never heard that phrase. That's funny. I remember that. Single guy's paradise. No, but like, so they would run this huge convention downtown Sydney, and remember, most of us would live in the hills, right? So getting there was already like an hour trip, hour and a half, probably. Yeah. I think they used to rent out buses for all of us to go.
It's
there, right?
Literally like going from, if you live in Berlin, from Spandau, Marzahn to Berlin City. It's kind of the same. Yeah. Maybe even a bit longer.
Yeah. Well, anyways, they would have, obviously, I think all of the girls would attend and the guys would serve. some of the girls would serve as well, or like
I think it was first year girls get to attend the first week and then serve in the hills. I think the girl students above all had to serve.
It's such an interesting experience if you think about that now. You remember how they were like, oh, who's your conference crush and all these stupid things. And you would just spend a lot of time there, and like all the first year dudes would do logistics, have to carry around
heavy like running around, singing. I'm like, dude, I was so like, what is going on?
It was like a whole different world we used to live in, bro. If you think about it now, and like imagine one day telling your kids, yeah, couple of years of my life I lived in Sydney and I was volunteering at this crazy church. What do you think how people are going to think or like hear about Hillsong in like 30-20 years from now? We don't have to get into this. All this to say, they were running these huge conferences. If you know Hillsong, they're all about the huge production. So they would have us do that for 2 weekends in a row, because the first weekend was in the city, the second weekend was at the convention center in the hills, like the main campus of Hillsong where it was birthed out of. So we would serve all weekend, and then the last weekend where Color Conference was happening was like the last normal week ever before lockdown hit, right?
In Australia, right?
In Australia, or like globally after that for 2 years, I think there were lockdowns everywhere. And so this was like the last huge thing. And people started already hearing about COVID, started sneezing around. And it was like, oh shit, do I have COVID now?
Some masks were already popping off.
Yeah. And then this huge conference, you're like, oh no, everyone's going to have COVID after this. The virus is going to be spreading like crazy. So the conference was, I think, from Friday to Saturday or Thursday to Saturday or something.
Yeah,
and on Sunday, we had regular church again. Right. And on Sundays, I was serving at this new campus even further out in the bush of Sydney. Do you know where Coringa is?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Oh,
yeah, it's like in the Blue Mountains, pretty much.
That's cool, though.
It was a dope location. It was right by this golf course in this super rich area.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So all those people there wouldn't want to go to they wanted to have their own campus. So at this golf club or country club, they would rent out this venue, and then they would. It was just the Hillsong link, so they would just stream the main campus, which was like, I don't know, 20 kilometers away, and stream it there on like a projection.
Your YouTube link or something.
Yeah. I was like, this is so strange, but also kind of cool. Anyways, I was serving there. That's where I got allocated to. And then, remind you, we were serving all weekend, and Saturday started early, and then we had to do pack down until late at night, right? Like wrapping everything up.
Oh, man.
And I don't know what time I got home. I also used to live in Glenwood, so it was always like a 40-minute walk to get from the main campus down back home. And then the next morning, I was supposed to, I think, get up at like 5 a.m. to do bump in at that Coringa campus, right? To like help set everything up, set up the chairs, do all these things. I messaged my leader. I was also part of the host team. And I was like, I'm not even scheduled for this week. I will sit out this week. I'll join you guys again next week. I'm just over it. Not over it. I'm just tired after conference. I just need, Sunday off. Yeah. And I was already feeling a little sick and stuff as well. Like nose started running, headache, all these things. I was like, nah, sorry, I'll need tomorrow off. Like let me have to. And I wasn't even like scheduled for the hosting team.
It also sounds like we're talking about a job, but this is like stuff we had to do.
Exactly, right?
We like negative amounts of money.
Yeah, and it was crazy. So I tell my leader that, and then the campus pastor calls me. He was like, hey man. It's like, hey, what's going on? He was like, so I'm hearing you're coming tomorrow. I was like, yeah, sorry, like I'm not feeling too well, I just need tomorrow off. He's like, the fuck, man? Like, I don't know if he cussed, but he's like, no, what is that, man? Like, what do I even have you for? You're like,
no way.
I was like, yo, what is going on? Yeah, for real. He was like,
that's insane.
He was like, you're the first student that we get allocated to our campus. Like come on, man, you're supposed to lead by example, like, and you know, God will give you the strength to show up tomorrow, and then on Monday we all have a day off and you can rest. And there were no classes on Monday, I think. It's like, oh, tomorrow you just have to pull through, and you know, we're really trying to get this new campus to launch, and we need everyone, all the manpower we got to like help set everything up. I was like, bro,
is this the NBA Finals? My goodness gracious, dude!
Right?
That's crazy.
That's
actually crazy. Like, that person is crazy, bro. I don't care. That's
I don't
insane.
think he's in ministry anymore. And after that, I was like, well, I guess I was 20 at the time, young.
You're like, he's right.
I was like, but I think to this day I probably have like the chat somewhere with that leader. She was like, you know, God will give us the strength. We're all tired, but on Monday we can rest, and we just have to pull. I was like, I'm literally sick here. Like, come on, guys. Like, what the hell? But then I did end up showing up. Like, that's that's how much they have me. Like on Sunday morning at 5 a.m. they picked me up, and we drove over there for like an hour or so. Do like the Blue Mountains or shit, and then I was there all Sunday, and then got home. I was just dead the whole week. I was sick. Like, thanks, guys. Could have just given me one freaking day off to rest a little bit, and
or join later or something. I don't know. There's always a different solution. You can always meet someone in the middle if it's really that necessary, or just.
And it's not like I wasn't even scheduled. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's also kind of crazy that you weren't scheduled. So, and
it wasn't my main practicum either. My main practicum was with, I think, young adults or something, Powerhouse
in Coringa, in the Hills.
No, at Hills Powerhouse, because I didn't have a Powerhouse in Coringa.
You were doing 2 campuses. You were doing 2 campuses.
Yeah.
Also,
but dude, only for like 2 months. Okay. Then COVID happened, and I was not serving at all.
bro, I remember when COVID happened. I was like, yeah, you know, this is just, you know.
That was also the last time I went to that campus. Sorry, I'm just finishing that story up. I went that Sunday, helped them. I was like, never seeing you guys again. Because then COVID happened. All the churches got shut down. That campus got shut down. I don't think they reopened it since. And I never went again. Never saw any of those people again. Ever.
They probably still think you're there, bro. They're like, man, where's Paul at? You're still getting scheduled, bro.
Imagine. No, it's just because then COVID happened, lockdown happened, Hillsong went full force with it and didn't do any gatherings. Everything started happening online. I was serving a little bit at online church with your brother, actually. He was...
shout out Alan's.
Yeah, shout out Alan's. He was my practicum...
Careful now, you're walking on.
Yeah, no, what do you call it again? Instructor or something?
Oversight.
Come on, bro. And I used to serve under him a little bit, and then I stopped that because just sitting here on YouTube answering comments and stuff and monitoring. I was like, oh, dude, come on. There's better things I can do with my time. Sure. And then stopped doing that, and then my second year, I served under John Hooper for
That's cool.
second year chapel, and I was doing photography for them a little bit. I was doing some logistics here and there.
Oh, sick.
But it was very chilled. It was very chilled under John Hooper. He just...
super good guy, right? Him and Christian were kind of the same. Christian was also super chill.
Yeah, super chill, and he would just always give us 100% attendance, and he would always make sure that we're doing all right as well. And like to this day, like he's messaging me sometimes, like, when he found out me and my ex-girlfriend broke up over like, I don't know, it's not like I put it out there publicly, but he messaged me, he's like, oh, how you doing? And I told him, you know, say, hey man, if you ever need anyone to talk to, like, feel free. I'm still here. I'm just one call away. And that's crazy, man. Doesn't even work at Hillsong College anymore. Yeah, he works at, I think, what's that missionary work called where they work for like people, like Christians that are being persecuted? Open Doors.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, he works for Open Doors Australia now.
Oh, wow.
Good for him.
Yeah, that's sick.
And he was like, dude, just one call away. If you ever need anything, like, let me know. This, and I was like, bro, you know, that's like what I came here for, like being discipled, being mentored. And I think like him, I was never really too close to Christianity, but like those guys, there were a couple really good guys who took that role seriously and wanted to disciple people. And all that to say that he like had this group of me and a couple other guys and would always, you know, make sure we're doing all right, and kind of like that core team of second year chapel. So that was that was really good. So there were a bunch of good experiences as well. Again, to not slander anything, but overall, I mean, the serving thing, and that's also kept me from now going to Hillsong Berlin and wanting to serve there, because I know the culture can be similar,
quite intense. I think.
Quite intense, and I see it at friends still that are there. Like, dude, you guys, this is like a part-time job at least for you guys. Like, just from the time that you're involved here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, wow,
they're there all day. I remember the first time I went to the Hillsong Berlin here. That was the first time I went to like a morning and night service in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
I was exhausted, dude. You would have thought I played 90 minutes on a football field, bro. Yeah. I was so wiped. I was
it's draining.
It's so draining. Dude.
Yeah.
So when I did that, I was like, maybe this isn't for me anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm really done.
No.
Yeah.
So it's all to say, to come back to the questions, like, obviously, like, some of the allegations, like, we did see or did experience. I think especially like the serving culture, that's just a thing I could rant on for hours about, like how they treat their volunteers and people who are serving. And this whole system is based upon, you know, especially in Sydney, you know, they could never run these conferences if they didn't have that student body who was just free labor for them. Imagine they had to pay for all those people.
Bro, we
paid college fees to get to serve there, you know. This whole system is just kind of,
it's funny because like we're like, it is, but at the same time we did pay to be there, which is also annoying me a little bit. It's like I did sign the contract,
bro, but that's why I didn't do third year. I was like, dude, I'm not going to pay another like $6,000 just to do an internship. Like, if I do an internship, you should pay me, you know what I mean? Or it's a free internship and I just get to learn and it's free labor in exchange.
Yeah, I mean, I see that now.
Well, it also depends, you know. If I get to do an internship at, like, I don't know, Warren Buffett or Elon Musk, then okay, sure. But
sure.
At Hillsong College, like, come on, bro. Like, that's why I was like, after second year, okay, I'm not going to do third year. Although I do maybe sometimes think about, oh, maybe I should have just extended my visa. Because when we left, this like graduate visa came out. And even for people who did a vocational course like we did, could extend their stay to like another 2 years.
Like a bridging visa?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I was like, oh, that could have been dope.
Wait, so you left right? When did you leave? Sorry.
February 2022.
Oh. When did I leave? Oh, you stayed longer than I did.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, I stayed 2 years, but you like.
Were you getting the Aussie checks once a week, like the?
What do you mean?
The COVID money?
No.
You weren't getting that, dude. That saved my life. That's why I think that, bro. So during the pandemic, I would put on the class on my laptop, camera off, mic off. And I'd just be playing FIFA the whole time, dude. I would just be, bro.
For the people who don't know, like during the pandemic, Australia printed so much money that they gave out $750
a week.
Every week? No, every fortnight, right?
Every week. I was getting $750 every week, and I saved so much. And
to everyone there.
Yeah, and also the US was doing it a little bit. Like the US would do like $200 every now and then or whatever, and so I was getting that. So I mean, you know, there's negatives in a lot of this, but there are some positives.
I'm thinking like, dude, I was afraid because I got like one check, I think like $500 the first one, and because I was working under the table the whole time at Mr. Pink's. I never set up any like work contract or anything.
Okay.
So I was getting paid cash. I never paid any taxes in Australia.
Okay, so then. but you cut that out. The ATL was gonna kill you.
That's just how we did it at the barbershop. And then
the barbershop.
Anyways, I was so conflicted. I was like, oh, should I do it? And I could have done it. Like I could have easily checked it out. And I don't think they would have ever been noticing, you know?
Chillest government ever.
But I was also scared. I was like,
Yeah,
what if they're
that's
coming
fair.
back at one point and I have to pay back like 15 grand or something, and then I'm screwed. So what I did was started working. I worked at this. Dude, this is also crazy. I worked at this mushroom company.
What? I didn't even.
So
What?
they were. It was this company where they would clean and slice up mushrooms, right?
Sure.
It's called White Prince, I think. What a funny name, right?
Fits you.
So, oh, dude, this was so strange. I found this job through Facebook, and they were paying $30 an hour. I was like, dope. This is
Sick.
great pay,
Good payment.
you know? So I reached out to the guy. He was like, oh, I see you study at Hillsong. I'm also studying at Alpha Cruises right now. Dude, for the longest time, I thought it was called Alpha Cruises, like the boat cruise.
You know,
It's called Alpha Cruises, like the cross. Anyways, he was like, I'm also like part of Hillsong and I'm a missionary and stuff. I'd love to hire you, bring you on. And like, he was running this cleaning company out of Newcastle, I think. Or not Newcastle, like Wollongong or something, like an hour or so away. And he would always come down to like, it was very rural Sydney, even further out in the hills. And getting there was a trek already. It took me like an hour to get there. And then I would clean up this mushroom factory with these high pressure washers. Yeah, and we'd had this whole cleaning process, and it was crazy. Like, it was like freezing as well, because like the mushrooms had to be cold the whole time.
Right.
So, dude, that was crazy. And we just had to scrape out mushrooms off the walls everywhere. You would just see them and put them down the drain. It was crazy. So I was doing that for like, I think I only did for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. After that, I quit because I was able to find another job at this group home, which also paid really well.
Oh, sick. Just helping.
And I could just bike there, and then it was chilled. I worked on Sundays, and some Sundays, you know, you could make $50 an hour, so that was great.
I wish I worked on Sundays.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All that to say, yeah, that's why I didn't take the stimulus check. Although, hearing stories, man, like some dudes like use all that money and saved up for a ring and engaged their girlfriend. You probably did that, eh?
I did do that, yeah. Yeah. So I had saved up enough already, and then the money was coming in where I was able to.
How much did you save up of that?
So when I left, I'll say, because it's all
$750 a week for like.
Yeah, for a while, and then. So I remember leaving Australia, and I had about.
That's $3,000 a month coming in every month.
When I left Sydney.
Doing nothing.
Sorry.
That's $3,000.
Oh yeah, just by being there. Yeah, I mean, mental health was down the pothole because it's like you're just stuck in this bubble.
That's true. Yeah,
you're stuck within a bubble within a bubble. Like me and Hannah, every day we would just walk to Goodfella. That was the highlight of our day for a while.
And it's also crazy you couldn't leave further than that. They're like
no, you
5 kilometers off your house. It's the radius you can.
Insane. Yeah.
And I remember going to that group home to work. I would have to get like a permit to leave the 5 kilometer radius.
Wow, doesn't that sound crazy? Australia went a little. That happened. Australia was like,
that was nuts. And then everyone had to get the vaccine, bro.
Yeah,
you remember
they
that?
made everyone get the vaccine.
Dude,
essentially,
within 2 weeks, the vaccine percentage of I think 20%, because there were no cases in Australia.
Like, it's very minimal.
Dude, we had
compared
like
to Italy, Germany,
US. We had 500 cases a day there in a 5 million people city.
Yeah.
Here, bro, you had 50,000 cases a day.
Every day.
You know what I mean?
But
because of that control, because of that super strict lockdown, and they were saying, okay, the lockdown's only going to change for people who get the shot.
Right, yeah.
You know, you can only leave your house if you get the shot, or you can only go back to work if you get the shot. The vaccine percentage skyrocketed from, I think, like 20% to like 80% within like a month.
Yeah.
Just insane. If you
it is pretty crazy. I told myself, I was like, the only way, I'm also not anti-vax. I don't know, just whatever. But
I'm not, but I do feel kind of.
I felt like I was forced into it, which kind of sucks. Because I told myself, I was like, the only way I'm going to get the vaccine is if I, need to travel, need to see, God forbid, but someone home is sick. All right, I got to get it so I can travel, or to work.
Yeah.
Because the stimulus is going to stop. You can't live off $750 a week. So I was like, all right, well, to go back to work, I have to get it.
can't live off $750 a week. How much will you spend then?
I wasn't spending much, but at some point it does go, doesn't it?
You're just all Uber Eats every day.
Was I? No, I don't know. But I had big ambitions. I had a ring to save for. I knew I had a flight to Germany to pay for.
Fair enough.
So I was just like, yeah.
It does go away, but like, yeah, dude, it was definitely forced, like, which is crazy now because I was in the same position. I was like, if I get it, then I want to get it because I want to get it, not because someone's telling me to get it.
Yeah.
But then at the group home I was working at, which is also understandable because they were elderly people, they were like, we can't give you any more shifts until you get your first shot.
Crazy, yeah. Same.
They were like, we don't want to do this, but the government is making us to do this.
Yeah, same with my job. They're like, we don't want to do that, but you have to get it to work.
I should have just faked it, bro.
Okay, I used to do, yeah. So then that happened, and then coming here, we only got rid of masks in Germany this year. I think people forget that.
Ooh.
It's 3 years later, February 2023. I'm in freaking Dusseldorf, the Hauptbahnhof with a mask on. So stupid. I was so pissed.
Bro, people still be wearing masks now.
It's 35 degrees. They're wearing FFP2 masks, bro. I'm like, are you joking? Yeah. Just take in the sickness. No. You can't even breathe, bro. It's so hot in here.
Some people definitely brainwashed, bro.
Bro, but then Germany had the whole... well, Germany was also making you get more vaccines, no?
Did you get boosted?
No, I didn't, but they were trying to make it. You have to get boosted. I would just like fill out that form.
Bro, I was like, the 2 shots, okay, I get. But
I only got
not
1 dose.
Getting any boosters, bro.
Nah. Boosters for what?
I still got it. Did you never have COVID?
Nah, I don't think so. Nah.
That's crazy. So it worked for you, but I still had it.
Like, yeah, you said you still had it.
Like a couple of weeks later, I had it. Thanks.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe my thing would have been worse if I didn't get the vaccine.
Of course,
I'm no conspiracist in saying.
Me neither. I'm not. I mean,
but
before we get canceled.
Yeah, anyways,
Mexicans and vaccines.
Next question. One question we already covered. Someone was also asking about the allegations in the podcast. I think we covered that pretty well. And if we understand the critique or like the criticism, I do definitely get
I do as well.
You can't be blind to it, especially like the financial statements that were leaked a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy.
That's pretty crazy how much money they were making and how much money the pastors were being, paid as well.
Bro. Yeah.
Which is just, again, like making you question, like, what's their intention about this whole mega church here,
I never trusted church and money. I never really, so the reason why also my family had stopped going to Christ Fellowship was because they just kept talking about money all the time.
Dude,
and we're just like,
that's one big issue that I always had with Hillsong. And even in like 2018, 2019, my parents and I, we were traveling a bit. We went to Amsterdam one weekend and then we were in Munich another. And whenever we were there, I was like, oh, there's a Hillsong here. Can we please go, And I loved it. I was like, I was 18 and like I was in the small church, the small Baptist church, and then going to Hillsong was always this highlight, the production. It felt like a concert. And even my parents like, wow, this is like the way of excellency they put in this is very inspiring, and just young people wanting to.
German's dream. So,
anyways, but like even what my parents or my mom pointed out back then was, always given this speech or the speech for tithing or this sermon on tithing. Every single service,
they would go off, bro.
Dude, sometimes even here in Berlin, bro, the sermon on tithing would be longer than the altar call.
10 minutes, bro.
Yeah. Oh shoot, sound effects. Dude, that's like, and dude, I can rant on and on about this for hours.
Hannah could go off too.
Bro, the emphasis on tithing in the New Testament and the Old Testament is not as big as you make it at Hillsong, bringing it up for 5 minutes every Sunday. For sure say, okay, we're going to give our tithe and offerings and feel free to give whatever you feel led to give. And God loves a cheerful giver. Fine. To say 2 sentences about that.
Sure.
But do not go on for minutes about this because it's not that big of a deal in the Bible. Don't make it a bigger deal than it is, just to, get more resources to fund your church. And then, dude, oh my God, they have this. Oh, this is so problematic. The Kingdom Builder Club at Hillsong.
Bro, that's pretty crazy.
That's so wild, where you would have to give a certain amount a year to be part of this exclusive club at Hillsong. And that's where, all kinds of problems come in, because then you start creating this to society church culture. You have these super spiritual, hyper, cheerful givers who give at least, I don't know what the amount is, a year to be part of this exclusive group. And then you have the rest, and everyone is being told, you should strive to become a kingdom builder, and it should definitely be your aim to use your finances to build the kingdom. Bro, what kingdom are you building? Like, what is this, bro? Come on, honestly now, like, you're just being brainwashed. And I'm for tithing. I'm for like donations and stuff. Like, that stuff is good. And at the end of that, like, I had a long conversation about finances yesterday with another Christian guy, and I agreed, dude, it's like, at the end of the day, it's all God. Like, whatever he gives us, it's all him. But I have a problem with church leaders telling you this is how much you need to give to be part of that club, because then you're not a cheerful giver anymore. It's against the whole point of giving in the Bible, where they say, you should give out of trust in God. You should give out of, joyfulness and out of a generous heart, and not because you're told to give this much. Nah, man, that's wild to me.
I remember, I look back now, thank God I never did, but I think it was during the pandemic, and Heart for the House was happening.
That too. I forgot about Heart for the House.
And I was like, I think, I wasn't the Hillsong thing quite deep. I was like, I'd be a college student, right? Not working because of the pandemic.
Explain real quick what Heart for the House is.
Isn't it just like a once a year donation where you give, they say a bit more, but a lot more than you normally would?
Before the tax year is over. So they have one more like boost in finances before they have to do the annual statement.
I didn't even think about that. That's also crazy. Yeah. So I remember being, a student and being like, I think I'm going to give 200. It may not seem a lot, but to me it was a lot. Like, to put in 200, and that could be some groceries. It could be, something in my savings. Yeah. I never did it. I ended up never doing it. But even to think that, I think is a bit.
Hey, man. And let me tell you this story. Like, as a student too, it is a lot. But before I went to college, and that's why, like, I'm telling this story to show everyone that I do believe in the power of tithing and these things. Because before I went to college, I was working at, Ansting's Family.
Ansting's Family?
Yeah. No, it's like kids and women's clothing store.
So yeah.
It's pretty big. It's from my hometown. It's like the biggest company from.
Is it your last name, Ensling's Family?
No.
So
Enseling.
Enseling.
It's not Ernsting.
What's your last name?
Enseling.
What's the company called?
Ernsting.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My bad.
That'd be cool if a rich boy or a rich kid. Anyways. I was working in their warehouses before going to Australia. I was making good money. I was working another job at a car wash and gas station. So I was making like $2,000 a month or so. And then I was, before going to Australia.
Sure.
And that was all like saving to, pay for flights, tuition, all these things to set me up for the first couple months.
Of course.
But I was thinking, you should give 10%. And I really had like felt God like encouraging me, or I really felt encouraged or led to giving 10% of that 2K and like tithing $200 at my local church that like month, I think, when I first started making that much money.
Sure.
And so I did. I gave 200. And then I don't know if it was it must have not been the next week. It was the next day, the next week or so. I meet up with this random guy, and he knew that I was preparing to go to college, and he gave me this envelope. He's like, "Oh, bro, this is for you. I just want you to be set up and like for Sydney, and like I appreciate what you're doing." And we were kind of mutual. We had a couple of mutual friends and acquaintances. And open up the envelope. It was exactly $200.
Yeah, that's sick.
And like those stories I hear all the time, where like you trust God with your finances, and that was like the most I'd ever given. you trust God, and then God is just matching that, or he's even, multiplying it. So those stories are real, and I do believe and, encourage people to tithe, but don't put a system around it. Don't put guidelines around it. Okay, 10% is a good rule of thumb, but even in the New Testament, we're not supposed to, it doesn't say give 10% like a religious rule. You know? So it's definitely Hillsong and money is it's a huge problematic thing, where that was also probably one big reason where at the end I was like, no, man, they have so many other motives here, and it's this huge corporation. I can't with a good conscience keep going here.
Yeah, I remember when so I had already left when the statements came out, and they told us, and I was just like, it's kind of sad, but I was just like,
not surprised anymore.
No, I'm very numb. At this point in my life, I'm very numb to churches. I'm going to a new church now. In the back of my mind, I'm like, what's going to be the thing with them one day?
Yeah,
and it's quite sad. But it's something I'm going through right now in my life. And, maybe it never happens. Maybe it's something.
That is quite sad. Because looking at the questions, one other person was asking if all these things at Hillsong or the past couple of years, if it did negatively influence your faith.
No, because I always knew people were people, right? I grew up, my parents are both Christian, and I have this kind of faith where, at the end of the day, it's God. I think people get mixed up where church becomes their God to some extent.
Yeah.
Which I think is not healthy. I think, God should be your God, and, so I've always had that in my mind. So sorry, what was the question again?
If it negatively influenced.
So, faith. I always, now depending on the degree of my faith, where I was walking 100%, maybe 20%. Sure, but negatively affected it where I'm like, can't do this thing anymore. No. Jesus has done too much in my life already at 23 where I feel like I can never walk away from it.
Wow. Praise God.
Praise God, yeah.
Praise God for sure. Because also at the end of the day, he's holding us. It's not the church system.
Oh.
And that can also, problematic when you find yourself in a system where you're like, oh, what is my faith without this community, or do I even have faith if I'm not part of this community anymore? And community is a huge part of faith, I think. And I must admit, though, that it probably did influence my faith negatively, just because I felt like I wasn't going to church for such a long time. I was going to, I did attend another church even while going to college, still, like a local Baptist church.
This guy, you love it, bro. You love the little churches, bro.
Bro, I honestly do. I think it's the most genuine thing. It's the most genuine thing, probably. Although, there are exceptions to it as well. But it's funny because they used to make fun of it. He's like, oh, Paul is this dude who's coming to Hillsong to go to this local Baptist church. And I'm like, what are you even doing here? I'm like, bro, I don't know, honestly.
Trying to stay alive, bro.
Yeah. But all this to say that it has definitely been a process, especially throughout the last year. And it's not all because of Hillsong. It's all because also people I chose to surround myself with, or decisions I made to, be less involved in church, or to, not read the Bible as frequently or pray as often as I used to. Obviously that has negative effects on your faith as well. So it's a battle, it's a journey, it's a fight, and it's a way. But I'm slowly but surely wanting to find my way back into a healthy community, a healthy way of living my faith in a real way in a city that feels like a jungle sometimes. When I moved here in 2022 and started barbering and working here and stuff. Just one example I always give people, being at college, and before that being in my small hometown environment. I've never met so many gay people in my life like I've met in the first couple of weeks of living in Berlin.
Sure.
And that's just a real thing that you now have to face in a completely different way of asking yourself questions that in the past felt so distant because, the gay topic is a good example because didn't really know many gay people. It was easy to have beliefs about that when it's not real. But now all of a sudden you're faced with it and you actually got to think this through. Yeah. So those things, definitely challenges now. But to answer another question that someone asked, and you already mentioned it too, I'm going to a church now here, and we're recording this on a Sunday morning, so we're both about to go to church after this, I think. Yeah. Which is beautiful to do. I think.
So far, so good. Let's see what happens.
You can't be cynical, bro.
Nah, I know. I have to be. I know.
Give it a chance.
No, and honestly, it's so great. Honestly, so far, I've really enjoyed it. Every Sunday I've been to, it's been really good. When we're going back kind of to the finance thing, this church they don't have an offering message at the end of the service. They kind of just pass buckets around and put like a PowerPoint, like, oh, if you feel obliged to give something to the church, please do.
And I love that, bro.
I love that.
It's the same at that church that I'm at now. They're just like, hey, we're going to pass around a bucket and, feel free whatever you want to give. There's a IBAN number, like the transaction bank number, if you want to give like that. They didn't even say that, bro. I had to find that out for myself, actually.
Bro, it was just a PowerPoint slide.
Yeah.
And Hannah actually noticed it. Again, beautiful wife. Hannah just said that. She was just like, there was no offering message. And it went over my head, dude. I was like, oh. I was like, really? I was like, maybe it's just today. And then we had asked friends of ours, and they're like, no, they never. I was like, sick.
I think that for me now is definitely like a non-negotiable if this church has an offering message.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not for me, but if so, but if it's like, if there's if it's very highlighted within the service, if it's like a minute, if it's out of the boat, yeah, all right, whatever. Yeah. Remember that? Do you ever do that?
I did it once online.
You did it out of the boat? I never asked. I was never asked.
Mexicans did it.
Yeah, probably.
No, but it is. I think that's what it's all. Sorry, that's what it's all coming down to. Like it's a journey, man, and like
for sure.
I remember what my mom used to tell me, because when I was like 18, 19 and like very fresh in my faith and eager and preaching and doing youth work and stuff and trying to evangelize my school friends and stuff, she was like, Paul, man, like. When I was your age, I was at like a very zealous, eager phase myself. I don't want you to go so high and then fall so low. And,
sure.
Drop in this pit. And back then I was like, no, Mom, that's not going to happen to me. That happened to you, but this will never happen to me. And looking back now, she's been so right with so many things. And I've seen that happen to so many of my friends. Or in some ways it's happened to me where I was very high. I was reading the Bible for 2 hours every day.
Damn, I've never been that high. Maybe.
Yeah, some days, bro, I was studying.
Fair enough. Sick.
Bro, Tom Barkley would tell us, wake up at 5 a.m., read the Bible for 2 hours.
I love that dude. He's so funny.
He was this pastor at Hillsong. Tom Barkley, he's a legend.
Yeah.
Bishop Bicep, or what they call it.
Because we're at Macquarie, and he was at Macquarie. Honestly, going to Macquarie, in my college experience, pandemic, and then Hannah and I started going to Macquarie, and it brought us up to a really healthy place again. I think there's, I can't speak now because I'm not attending, but there is some healthy communities within Hillsong Church who believe in the same things kind of we believe in still. So you would see, even though it's part of Hillsong, it was run very similar to maybe the church I go to now.
Okay.
Small, of course there's an offering message, but very strong community, very strong within the local community. And that experience really put us up on a good place, and Tom was there, and it was very good.
No, that's dope. But yeah, to say, my mom was right about that all along, and like
they're always
that's
right,
what I want to encourage like people listening to as well. Like, it's important finding a healthy balance. It's important finding a healthy way of living out your faith, and obviously, faith is like one of the most important things, if not the most important things in our life.
It is, yeah.
But yet still, wanting to tell this everyone listening who might be fresh in their faith or younger. It's like you're going through ups and downs. You will go through ups and downs. There will be disappointment happening to you. There will be, harder times, but it's about, holding on to it. But at the end of the day, God's grip on you is stronger than your grip on him.
For sure.
And he's not going to, let you lose. So yeah, trust in that, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And also, when we had mentioned earlier in the episode, people that we know who've walked away from faith, I think getting a bit spiritual, but I saw like a picture in my mind where I had some examples in my head of people that we know. Yeah, they walked away, sure, but God's still behind them.
Yeah.
As if, he's still there. So I think there is still hope in that. So if you are someone who's walked away looking for some answers, just know all you have to do is just turn around and God's there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think God would rather have you fight with him, be angry with him, than just to walk away with him.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Walk with him and figuring it out with him. And for sure. And he wants us to, come back. It's always this picture of like
the prodigal son,
the son that's run away, and then the dad is there with open arms. And I think
for
it's
sure.
such a beautiful picture that, we can always come back to or remind ourselves of that, God is only like one step away, going into the different direction than you were heading in.
Of course.
Not trying to preach to anyone here or call up
I don't know.
repentance message.
I don't know. Hopefully someone's...
Yeah, someone might be
maybe they needed this episode.
Yeah.
2 idiots talking about it.
Meatheads. Oh, yeah. But I think those were most of the questions. Let me actually check.
Yeah.
Unless you have any more... those were all the questions. Unless you have any more questions or topics or stories you want to touch on.
No, we could talk a little bit. This is my goodbye statement. Hillsong Church. All the best to you. I know you're going through something. Maybe God could turn it around. The friends that are still there, dedicated to rebuilding Hillsong Church.
I salute you.
You're stronger than I.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah.
Make it better, please, for the next generation.
Yeah.
But thank you for everything. But it's time we say goodbye. So this is my official farewell to Hillsong Church, I guess. So thank you.
That's so funny. I wasn't expecting this, but
I never I just stopped going. I guess.
Do you think Brian Houston's gonna listen to this?
He doesn't know I exist.
Huh?
Probably nah, I don't think so.
Didn't you shake his hand at graduation?
He pat me on the back.
My man.
But we're cool, I guess. Not
yeah.
really.
But what you just brought up is a really good point to all the people who are still there and the friends that we still have who are there. Or just the friends who are in ministry in general, like who did college and decided to go into full-time ministry. I have so much respect for you guys. Like, honestly, it's not an easy task, and you shouldn't take it lightly. And I want to encourage you on everyone as well to like take on responsibility if you're in that position. Like, I decided not to do it. I, for the longest time, thought I would go down this youth pastor.
Bro, same. I was on fire.
But
working retail.
It's like I can't do it, at least not right now. Who knows what the future will bring and what God will call us to. Yeah. But again, I am grateful for the time Hillsong, and I am grateful for everything I've learned there, and it's made me the man I am today. So I can't hate on it too much, although I do see problems within the system, within the structure of it. But I think today was good, like reflecting on it and kind of sharing each other's experience, and hopefully also interesting and insightful for the people listening who might find themselves in similar, church situations. And it doesn't even have to be at Hillsong. There are so many other churches who were inspired by Hillsong who run things differently or similarly, I should have said. So think about it. Think about what kind of environment you're in, if it's healthy, if it's not, if it's toxic, if it's helping you to get closer to God or not. So again, thankful for Hillsong, thankful for the time there. And this was probably the final statement
Dude.
on Hillsong. It might come up here and there again because it is part of who I am, you know. But
Sure.
I thought it would be cool to bring you on today, kind of as a co-host, to go back and forth about our experience there because, ranting by yourself is kind of silly.
Ranting by yourself and with the same people, it gets a bit much. So thank you.
Well, cool. I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Are we done?
I think this was a good loop now. Unless you have any final words or any.
I got some time still. Nah.
Huh?
Nah. How are you?
How am I doing? That's a good question.
Yeah, let's check on Paul. Here, I'm gonna take over a little bit. So I'm gonna host this thing. Let's check it.
Outro. Okay, well.
Nah, bro. We can. There's editing or
it's fine.
bonus episode.
Bonus episode. Now I'm doing good. Yeah. Just a little sunburned, but.
Yeah, a little bit of tint on you. That's good though.
Some color. No, I'm doing well. Enjoying summer in Berlin. Although, bro, man,
the summer's not really hitting you. I feel like, or I haven't done much. Where I'm like, summer in Berlin is sick. I haven't.
Dude, I was like, I'm going to enjoy the summer here, and then what I did was I took 10 days off in November and booked this flight to Texas. I told you about, right?
Yeah.
This is so silly. I booked a random flight to Texas.
I'm wearing my Texas socks.
It was such an impulsive decision. I was like, let me go to Texas. I want to check it out. It's been so long since I've last been in the States. I miss going there. I have a couple friends there, but I'm not even super close to them. So I'm like, I'm not really going there to see them. It's not like visiting Greg or someone that I'm really close to. But I booked this flight to Texas to also go train jiu-jitsu there for a little bit, road trip around, maybe go to a couple NBA games. There's like 3 NBA teams in Texas.
Spurs, Mavericks, Rockets.
And Rockets, yeah.
They're all crap.
Well, Dallas isn't too bad. They got Luka, and San Antonio now with Victor Wembanyama might not be too bad.
But I guarantee he's gonna get injured within the first.
Yeah, probably.
And then he'll be out for the season.
Shed Holmgren or that guy.
They always get injured, and then they're always out for the season.
Yeah. And then he gets the Rookie of the Year for his second season.
Yeah. That always happens.
like the Ben Simmons, bro, and then it just falls off. We'll see how he goes.
Hopefully, all the best to Vic.
Yeah, all the best to him for sure, bro. But I was, going through Instagram and seeing all these people in like fucking Monaco or like, sorry, excuse my language, like at some beach or the Mediterranean in Italy. I'm like, dude, what did I do wrong? Why didn't I take off a couple of days during the summer and go to like freaking Italy or something? So I'm thinking. But then also I think it will be nice in November when the weather is shit here to go to Texas because it will still be like...
it gets very cold in Texas, right?
Yeah, but in November I looked it up and the weather in Austin is like still 22 degrees like Celsius, not Fahrenheit.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's pretty cold, dude.
So
tank top weather.
You know, that will still be nice. You can still walk around in flip-flops. So
22, that's so 22 degrees Celsius to you is so warm. Bro, 22 degrees Celsius, me and Greg will pull up with a jumper in our hands. Like, bro, it's cold, dude.
It's chilly,
It's chilly, eh? Yeah, for sure, bro.
Yeah, nah. But how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, saving up for big things in my life.
Oh, yeah, you guys got a wedding coming up.
Yeah, a wedding.
I mean, technically you're married already.
We are married, but we never had the ceremony because by German law, you have to go to the courthouse and sign papers. So we did that. So now we're just going to have the ceremony with some friends and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to Sydney next month.
Bro,
imagine this comes out and I'm canceled, dude. I go back to... Because I have people still at Hillsong, bro. They like ridicule me.
No. Imagine.
They don't let me in the premises. That's so
Where's
funny.
the wedding going to be? At the Hills Church thing?
My brother's wedding?
Yeah.
Nah, it's somewhere in the city.
Okay. I was gonna say they do it at the chapel at the Hills campus.
Nah, I think the Botanical Garden.
Oh shoot!
I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited to see my brother.
So outdoors, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think. It's winter now, but I don't know how cold it is right now.
Yeah.
Over there. Yeah,
you're gonna be wearing suits anyway, so
yeah, rough.
As long as it's not raining.
Sydney, then back here from.
I'm so jealous you're going back to Sydney, bro.
It's funny. I never thought I'd be back this soon. I thought it'd be a decade or maybe never. Like, I remember me and my friend Leo, we'd always joke around where we would, the best way I would like describe my time in Sydney is like one day my grandkids open up a book, right? And it's just like me and Hannah and Sydney, and they're like, "Grandpa, I never knew you lived in Sydney." And I'd be like, "You never asked." like just like some random time in my life where like you never asked about it, but now you're old enough since you find the photos. I've always planned it to be some dramatic thing, but I'm going there next month. I'm stoked.
Bro,
I love Sydney.
I'd be so stoked.
I'm stoked, dude.
I want to go back. I want to go to the Gold Coast or like, oh my God. Oh.
I don't think there's any. We live in Berlin now. I think it's obvious now, but I don't think there's any polar opposite culture in the world than Germans and Australians. It could be a bit dramatic. There might be more,
Yeah,
but bro, Germans
probably.
and Australians, like being between that is so crazy. So I had an Aussie customer come in. "Hey, how you going?" "Oh, good. Where you from?" "Australia." "Awesome." Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, all right. And then I tell myself, let me try it with the German people. They go, "Hallo, hallo. Wie geht's dir?" "Gut." That was it. That's all they gave me. Und dir und selbst. None of that. Just gut. Eine Tüte dazu. Okay, cool. That's it, bro.
That's rough. That's rough.
You never experienced it? I mean, you are
I feel
German,
sorry
so
for you. I mean, I know what it's like.
it's not all German. It's changing within the young people, I'm noticing. I try with the younger people, and they're like, "Oh, good, new, good." And then, "How's the weekend?" Like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Yeah.
But man, I think it'll be a while.
It'll be a while. But it's already crazy to me how quick you've settled in Germany from never having any touch points with German culture or anything before. Like your German's already so good. Like I would say you're pretty much fluent.
Nah, but
But you can understand a lot of things and you can definitely articulate yourself around.
sentence structure might be wrong. Lack of vocabulary might be there, but I can maybe get to the gist or the point.
But even that, after a year of living here, bro, crazy.
Thank you.
That's wild. But you were already studying in Sydney as well, right?
Yeah, I took my A1 test there at the Goethe Institute there for my visa. So I did some online courses. I took an A1 course when I was in Düsseldorf. Living in Düsseldorf, they say it's international, but it's not. It's really not compared to here. It's not that international.
Yeah.
So working there, I had to.
That's why I like Berlin, though. It's so international.
Oh,
A friend of mine from my hometown, me and him graduated high school together. Him and his girlfriend were in town, or are still in town. We hung out Friday night, and he was like, "Bro, I don't hear any German. I only hear English." I was like, "Well, duh. I mean, like, it's the capital."
Was ist das denn? Das genervt mich.
I can't believe it. I was like, he was like, "Last year when I was here, it wasn't like that."
Damn, dude.
Bro, you got a problem with that?
Yeah.
Like, come on, pick up your English a little.
He's pressed.
No, but like, it's I love it. It's great to me. I go get a coffee and I only speak English to the barista there. You know, and
sick.
Like where I work out, like it's so multicultural. Like we only speak like English, German mix. Like my coach speaks some German, mostly English.
Of course.
So it's just normal here.
Yeah, it's nice.
But I also understand too people who don't have that like background or aren't used to it. It can be difficult, but like Berlin's definitely like it doesn't feel like you're in Germany. It doesn't feel like you're in Germany. It doesn't feel like you're in Germany a lot of the times you hear.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, no, that is true. I love it, especially in the East. I mean, I'm out in Spandau, so I'm kind of using German most of the time.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's sick. It's funny seeing some of the older generation to get annoyed. Like, Deutsch oder English? I'm like they ask me at work. I'm like, beides gut.
Whatever more comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
my last resort, I always tell people this if they're struggling with the German thing. Just go. Something I noticed about the German people. Now I don't know if this is a NRW thing or a whole Germany thing.
Yeah.
But so a customer asked me, "Oh, how does this or what's this material like?" And I'd be like, I wouldn't know what to say. I'd just be like, and they're like, "Yeah, no." I'm like, tell me I'm lying, bro. They always be doing that. They always go, "Oh, is this food good?" I'm like, "Huh, okay."
That's so funny. Oh, it's like más o menos.
Yeah, I guess it's just been like, yeah. Like,
Todo bien? No.
Yeah.
Más o menos.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny. The culture thing. I recently DM'd. I'm looking to play football again.
Yeah, nice.
And it's this Latino team.
Oh.
So I had to like, I'm trying to get my Spanish back up because it's probably my only insecurity is my lack of Spanish.
Only insecurity. It's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I might get annoyed at some things like my hair and stuff, but it's genetics. But yeah, so I DM'd them and it's all in Spanish. I had to DM and I used Google Translate, but I had to DM them in Spanish.
They got back to you?
Yeah, they did. I haven't opened it yet, but I might be joining Club Deportivo Latino Belin.
Where do they train or where do they play?
I have no idea yet.
You don't know yet.
We'll see.
That'd be good, bro.
Yeah.
Being part of a team.
Yeah.
No.
Oder? Ja, glaub schon. Ja,
vielleicht, ja.
Ja.
Mal sehen.
Yeah.
That's fun, bro. You gotta keep us posted how that goes.
For sure, bro. Yeah. All right.
Cool, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, bro. Anytime.
Your least viewed episode. Probably.
No, I think people are actually interested in this. I think people
okay.
are actually interested in hearing.
Bro, if you ever, if you can't find a guest for the week, just hit me
I'll
up.
holler at you.
Yeah. I think Greg was that person, but now Greg's gone. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Greg, bro, for real. Man.
Yo, shoot us a message, G. We miss you, huh? We're begging you, bro.
Bro, you simping now, bro. That's crazy.
I'm not saying all that. I miss you. This guy's a little bit sour. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Ain't gonna lie to you, Greg, if you're watching this. Wild. Anyways, all that to say, thank you guys for listening.
Danke.
I hope you enjoyed. Hope this gave some clarity. And again, God's still good.
That's right. He's always on the throne.
Thanks
Always.
for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having
Sandro,
me. Appreciate
for sharing
it.
your, experiences. And
Of course.
I think a lot of people could learn from this. All right. Ciao, ciao.
Cheers.